right, welcome to One Nation of Sports Locker Magazine Extra. I'm your host, Kirk DeMars, and tonight we got a great program. I love getting to visit with this lady on this program because I'm telling you, she does more things than what you and I can imagine doing in any given year, let alone how often she does these things. She writes an article for us in the Sports Locker Magazine, and Laura Bax will give you a whole bunch of information on a whole bunch of different things that you've only thought about trying, but you never had the courage or maybe the time or the motivation to go ahead and do those things. Laura is the last one now, the last article. I know some of you would struggle a little bit with that, but it's getting a leg up. And it was talk about frogging. And if you haven't seen that article, you need to make sure that you check that out. Look at it in the magazine, or also you can find it on sportslockermagazine.com. Go to our website and you can log into the digital edition there. All right. I hope you guys are ready because you're going to hear lots of good stuff coming from Laura Bax, and I'm just titling this Adventurer Extraordinaire. That's all I can say about it. So here we go. Hey Laura, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great. How's it going, Kirk?
I am good. What do you think of that title, Adventurer Extraordinaire?
I giggled a little bit, but I'll
Okay.
take it. I think it's very complimentary.
Yeah.
I've
I don't
been
know.
called worse.
Well, hopefully you weren't taking it as worse, okay?
No,
You are
that's
a very
awesome.
busy woman, so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your family? Just kind. I know you have a 2-year-old grandson. I want you to obviously talk about him and share a little bit about what's going on with you guys in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. I think since I was on here last, both of my boys have graduated college. I have one of them that's living in Jefferson City and one of them that's living in Springfield, and they're both doing great. Big, strong, strapping boys. So that's awesome. Self-sufficient. So we're empty nesters. I can't complain about that either. It lets me get out and do a little bit more adventures on my own these days, but I enjoy spending time with them as well. The one that lives in Jeff Cities got my little grandson, and his name is Bowen, and he's 2, and just looks just like Casey did when he was little. He's a doll. We got to keep him for a week this summer, and I forgot just how busy 2-year-olds are. And I
Uh-huh.
don't know if Adventure Extraordinaire would have worked for me that week, would have worked that week in terms of a title, because really I got nothing else done but playing. But I think
That's
that was the
right.
whole purpose anyway. So it was
Absolutely.
fantastic. And my
Good.
youngest son, Cole, down in Springfield, he is getting ready. Besides working and training, he's getting ready for a MMA title fight in October. So that's pretty exciting. It'll be down in Springfield, Missouri. And so
Yeah.
he's working hard, you know, probably starting to cut a little weight about now. And my husband, he's been staying super busy. We just bought a gym. Kind of wasn't in our
Okay.
game plan, but we love working out, and fitness has always been a part of our lives, my boys as well. And uh, the opportunity came up, and it was a good project for my husband, and so now we're gym owners. So
Yeah. Well,
that's
why don't
keeping
you
us
tell everybody
busy.
about, yeah, tell everybody about where that is and the
Okay.
community and on down there with your farm and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my folks have always had a farm in Doniphan, Missouri, which is down in southeast Missouri. There's about 2,000 people in the town, maybe a little bit less. And the opportunity came up to, well, we've been working out at this gym for a couple years now, almost 3 years, and the longer we worked out there, we thought, gosh, if this is ours, we might do this or we might do that. And the opportunity came up, and we jumped on it. And gosh, we've gotten to know so many great people in the community. Those are the most people we know these days, are the ones in the gym, because by the time you do gym and work and everything else, you don't have much time for any other socializing. But we've met some really great people that we've come to call friends, and
Yeah.
tried to renovate the gym a little bit, and it's great for the community. We're getting a lot more women in there, which makes me happy, because I was just hanging out with the guys most of the time. So that's been fun. And yeah, it's not exactly where we want it to be quite yet in terms
Hmm.
of all the things we want to do, but it's definitely getting there. And my husband has put in countless hours working on that, and so that's been fun. just a
Yeah,
new adventure for us. So
yeah.
if we weren't
And
busy enough.
in your spare time, right?
Right, exactly. And he still lets me go on my hiking trips and get away every once in a while, which is nice too.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going
So,
to want to talk about some of that here in just a minute. But you did mention your
mhm.
parents, and uh, is that kind of where you developed your love for the outdoors? Just tell us a little bit about how all that developed. And
Oh, yeah, totally my parents. My parents, my grandparents on both sides, we were just raised hunting and fishing and trapping and being outside. When I was a little kid on the weekends in the summer, that's what we did. We went camping. I think my dad probably took us to every state park there there is in Missouri and some remote places that probably nobody else has ever been. And we'd be camping creekside and putting out trot lines and doing those types of things and so fun. And then in the wintertime it was time to fill your freezer with deer meat and spring turkey season, that type of thing. And we've just always been outside. My dad's an entomologist, so he's all things nature and insects. And I think all I'm not near as smart as he is when it comes to all those things, but I think a little bit of that rubbed off on me. And he's still teaching me things all the time. And my mom, when it comes to gardening, and she's right there with him with insects
Mhm.
and things like that. You should see all the hummingbirds that come into her front porch. My
Oh, wow,
goodness.
yeah.
I think she feeds all the hummingbirds in the county, but definitely my love of nature comes from them, and hopefully we've passed some of those types of things on to our kiddos as well.
Yeah.
So, but my folks are doing good. We actually went out with Ben the other night and fed the catfish in a couple of our ponds, and they are monsters now.
Oh,
So I
wow.
can't wait to get permission to catch one of them. I haven't got that yet.
Oh, they haven't given it yet. All right. Well,
No,
they
no.
should because you're promoting them. They should do that for you, right?
Right? I agree. At least one big one.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to quickly point out this last article you did. Again, we were talking about getting a leg up, and it's about frogging. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Some people
Oh,
might be like, "Are
absolutely.
you kidding me? What are you talking about?" Tell us about that and why it's so good.
Oh, they taste delicious, first of all. So that's the number one reason to go out and go frog digging. Um, we used to do it when I was a kid along the Moro River. We would get out there and put a life jacket on and wade along the edges of the Moro River. And now that I look back at it, I'm not sure that's probably the first place that I would to go nowadays. With all the, I remember all the bugs coming in at us as
Hmm.
we had our flashlights, but it was so fun and always such an adventure. And then to be able to go back and skin the legs and cook them up was so great. And when my husband and I started dating, because we got together when we were sophomores in high school, and we used to go frog gigging in July. It was just what
Okay.
what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, date night when you lived in Loman, Missouri. I don't know. It worked for us, but it was fun. And what is so funny to show it how things sometimes come full circle is my article came out, and the day I got the magazine, I got a snap from my youngest son, and he and his girlfriend had gone frog gigging, and he had no idea I had written this article. And I said, "Oh my goodness, you're never going to believe what I just wrote about." And if
Yeah.
if I used some older pictures that I had, but if I could have waited just a little bit, I could have sent him pictures of his, and he had some jumbo frog legs. I don't remember. I don't think they grew him that big back when
Yeah.
I was his age gigging. They were huge. He even kept the
Wow.
front legs. They were so big. So, yeah,
Now,
that
of
was,
course, the
you
question
should definitely try it.
I think the question everybody will have obviously is, what does it taste like?
It tastes like chicken.
Yeah, there you go.
Doesn't
Doesn't everything
everything?
taste like chicken?
When it's fried, I think so. But yeah,
Yeah.
and we like, I don't know if anybody else does this, and I put it in the article, but we like to use shake and bake, and that's kind of what we mix on it as a batter. When we fry it, it just gives a little bit of extra flavor, but so delicious. You got to try
Yeah.
frog legs if you haven't. And I mean,
I have actually
have
tried
you
it.
had
Yep, absolutely. When I was growing up, my grandparents,
them?
they did the same thing. So I can remember
Awesome.
that leg kicking in the frying pan.
Now, did they gig them or did they shoot them? Or did they hand
They
grab
gigged
catch
them.
them or
They gigged them.
gigged?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And I caught
Well,
one, and
and
that was one of the ones that they did. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, the
Yeah.
two little boys I have to mention in the picture in the article I did, those are cousins, those little guys are.
Okay.
And yep, and the one of the boys was my son's his mom was my son's art teacher at Cedar Hill Elementary School.
Let's see. Let me get
So,
him over
oh, let's
here.
see. Okay, yeah, the little kiddo holding two frogs. His name is Deegan, and yeah, his mom was the art teacher at Cedar Hill, and that's how I
Okay.
got to know that whole family. And they've moved since then. They've moved up towards Princeton, Missouri, up north here, almost to the Iowa border, and they have a pond. And so that was a picture of them last year when he got to go frogging for the first time. And then the other little boy is her sister's son,
Okay.
and they caught a big old frog. And she's a hairdresser up in Liberty, Missouri, and we were talking frog gigging, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I got to show you the picture." And I said, "Well, that's perfect. We'll highlight them both because my article's going to come out at the perfect time for this." So
Yeah.
it's just so fun seeing kids light up when they get to try something new like that
Yes.
and just get dirty, and yeah,
Yeah. My
kind
grandkids
of
would
neat.
love it. They do. They fish for crawdads in Colorado. They have a park there, and
Hmm.
they're that stream runs right through the park, and they will go out there. Now they don't eat them, but they just have fun just catching them and releasing them. So
Yeah.
put a little
Uh-huh.
hot dog on a string and dip it down in there, and I'm not. They'll catch like 150 crawdads in
Uh-huh.
just a couple hours. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then they like counting them and holding them up
Aw.
and all that kind of stuff. So they love that.
I used to go to the creek there in Loman, and I would use bologna and
Mm.
did the exact same thing.
Now I imagine that you probably ate them though, didn't you?
Oh, I don't think so. Not unless they were
No.
really big, and I got a
Okay.
few of them, quite a few of
Okay.
them.
Okay. All right.
But yeah,
Now,
don't put anything like that past me. I mean,
now Alan Lubert, he said, gotta grab frogs. So Alan,
oh, Alan. Okay, Tigger. Yeah.
thank you, Alan. We appreciate that comment. Laura, you write about a lot of other subjects in sports soccer. How do you come up with all those ideas? I mean, you've talked about all sorts of things about growing mushrooms and,
Mhm.
hunting, fishing. Just tell us how you come up with all this stuff.
Well, I mean, it's just always what we're doing. I appreciate the leniency that you guys give me to really write about anything. I mean, like you said, I've talked about hiking and growing mushrooms and hunting and fishing. And I know hunting and fishing was really what you guys brought me on to talk about. But thankfully, you let me talk about
Oh
anything I
yeah,
want to,
no,
which is awesome.
we love
Um,
it.
but really it's just whatever's going on in our life. I'm always looking, I get the conservation magazines, and I'm always kind of looking ahead as to what seasons are coming.
Mhm.
And you know um, a little teaser for my next article: right now the rabbits have been attacking our garden all summer, so
Okay.
there is a rabbit season coming up. And I kind of keep track of the things I've written about. But I mean, the topics are endless.
Yeah.
We're always making, picking fruit and making jams and jellies, and the gardening and the things we drew there. The other day we picked a huge watermelon, and it was a
Mm.
volunteer. It was enormous, and cut into that, and it was, a beautiful yellowy cantaloupe kind of color. And I mean, there's just, I could write a whole article
Yeah.
about growing watermelons. I mean, it's just kind of whatever we have going on in our life. I, I I wanted to learn how to fly fish, and so my
Mm.
dad's given me a couple lessons on that. So when I learn a little bit more and maybe
All
get
right.
a little bit better, that's probably going to be something I write about. So I write about what I know because I can't write about what I don't, and I haven't experienced anyway. Not very well anyway.
Yeah.
Might be able to fake it, but just whatever we have going on and what's coming up in our lives is kind of what I draw from. I have a list of things and kind of have it marked out by spring, summer, fall, winter. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'll be in the middle of one article and it's just not moving me a whole lot, and I jump to a whole new topic. And I kind of love a deadline, so that's so weird. I think I could go to school forever, so maybe it's the whole school thing that, man, I love having that deadline that you impose on us every couple of months. So
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, it just helps me be creative. And I love to write English as
Yeah.
an English major, and so it's just right up my alley. It's just a creative outlet, and I
Yeah.
enjoy it.
You do a great job
So
with that. And I just thought of something that we ought to try sometime. is with your article, if you want to send me, say for instance, if you're fly fishing and you have a video of that and you want to send me the video, we can put a QR code in your article so people can see you actually out there fly fishing or something along that line.
Ah, that's awesome. Hey, I may have to do that on my next trout fishing trip
Okay, that
because
sounds
you
good.
can't you can't beat a video on the spring river when you're reeling in a trout. So I love
That's
that
right.
idea.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. All right, let's see. It helps having an awesome husband. Hmm.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, someone's hacked into my Facebook
I
account,
know.
clearly.
I was just saying, absolutely. I mean, you were thinking that, and obviously you had to say it. So
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
we appreciate that comment. That
Oh,
was
he's
from her
right.
husband.
I can't disagree. He's right.
Yes, like you said, you got to have somebody special to just to be able to take on all the um, different likes and dislikes that you have, but just be able to grow with you and go and do a lot of those things together. So I know that he's a very big part of that, and I see all the pictures and things like that. But man, I'm telling you, that adventure with that grandchild that changes everything.
Yes, he's the light of our lives. I mean, it just comes in. It's just different. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's different. He's adorable and exhausting, and just it's amazing how much we love the little guy. It's just amazing.
yeah,
And my husband feels exactly the same way.
uh-huh. Now you
Yeah, you
guys,
know.
that's that's probably that's really why you guys bought the gym. You needed to be in shape for the 2-year-old. That's what
You're
happened.
exactly right. Yes.
That's great. Um, okay, so coming up with these ideas, that's one thing, but actually doing them is another. How are you able to do all these things with such a busy life? We've talked about that a little bit. I mean, work, being a wife, being a mom, being a grandmother, just everything. How do you do all this?
Well, definitely not alone. I mean, that I have amazing support. The best thing is, I mean, family, that's what we're all about. And being able to do all the things I enjoy with the people I love the most. I mean, that's what matters, whether it's friends or family. I mean, I have a great group of girls that I hike with every year, and I have great work colleagues that we can travel for work things and, kind of slip in some adventures after hours, which is wonderful as well. And yeah, just being able to do things with my family. My dad's always game to plan something. My husband's always thinking ahead. Okay, we have this amount of time on Saturday. Let's get out and do something fun. Let's go trout fish or ride the motorcycle and go hit Johnson shut-ins for the day. I mean, he's up for an adventure, and my folks are, and my kids are. My boys and I have done quite a bit of hiking together too, the Grand Canyon and different adventures like that. So yeah, it really helps just to have the support, and sometimes you also have to be able to say, okay, this can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
dishes can stay in the sink. This work item can wait one more day. Um, I guess just prioritizing because the family time is the most important because, we're not always going to have each other all the time.
right.
And so it's just making time for the important stuff
Yeah,
and yeah, having the support system at home. 'Cause sometimes things just don't always get done and the house is a little messy and, things like that. But you just have to make the time.
I am sure that your husband says it's not a mess. You do a fantastic job. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he certainly does his fair share. I got to give him
Yeah,
credit for that. He's a heck of a vacuumer.
absolutely. We got to be good at something. We got to be able to do something occasionally, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
good. Well, you kind of segued into the next segment, so we're going to go ahead and stop here and we'll get back. We're going to talk about some of these different places that you've gone. So,
Okay.
this has been great so far, and I know people are enjoying it. We had Ashley Meyer, she had a couple of praise hands up. So,
Woohoo! She's my hiking
yeah,
buddy.
yeah, see, there you go. She wants to hear about what you're going to say, and we want to, if she has some specific comments about it, she can feel free to throw those in there as well. All
Great.
right. We'll be right back after this quick promo.
Services has been connecting employees with employers since 1977. Recently, CNS rebranded to CNS Employment Solutions to more clearly define their mission of serving the needs of applicants, employees, and businesses while remaining current and evolving with the changes in the workforce. One important thing has not changed. CNS Employment Solutions partners with a wide variety of employers, placing employees in jobs that match their skills and needs.
Say yes to CNS.
Laura, you know what it's like to have a good team working around you, and like you said, family. And that's one of the things about CNS Employment Solutions. Not only do they have a great team working around them, Paula Benny, she has some of her family working there as well, and um, they've been going 45 years strong. They make sure that people find jobs right here in mid-Missouri, and they make sure the employers get those positions filled as well. So they do a great job right here in the community. And my friend Paula and them, they do an outstanding job, not only finding jobs for people, but also just their involvement in the community. So I really appreciate them and being a sponsor of this program, bringing on awesome people like you. So that's why we get to
Awesome.
do
That's
this.
great.
Yeah. And then one other one I want to point out real quick is Big Whiskeys. They are our sponsor for Coach of the Issue. And Coach Damon Wells from Jefferson City High School was in the July-August issue, and got to talk about him and
Yep.
see some of the cool things that he does. And it was pretty funny when we went to do his interview. There was kids just surrounding him everywhere. So you know that he's well liked and doing a good job over there. So we appreciate Big Whiskey's giving a shout out to the coaches who a lot of times go through their career and they don't get a lot of credit for all the time and effort they put in, as well as their families making the sacrifices for the kids. So thank you. That's all we got to say. Thank you, Big Whiskies, for doing that. Okay, Laura, here we go. We're
Okay.
gonna talk about places that you've been while on adventure and what were some of the most memorable locations or experiences.
Okay. Well, I have to talk about what I just did most recently
Absolutely.
because it's on the forefront of my mind right now. So, my girlfriends and I did Glacier National Park this year. So, Montana was a new spot for us to hit. We try and hit a national park every year. I think we lost one year during COVID. Didn't everybody lose at least a year during COVID? But so, yeah, we flew out to Spokane and we spent and drove over to Montana and we spent a week camping in Glacier, and we managed to get one day to head over to Canada and went to Waterton Lakes National Park. One of my friends, Misty, it was her first time out of the country, so that was an awesome experience for her and for us to experience it with her. And we saw a huge herd of elk over there and got to see a small town that was right in the middle of the park and have some pizza and ice cream along the lake. That was amazing. But Glacier was different. Last year we hiked Half Dome in Yosemite,
Hmm.
and I didn't think that could be beat. My goal was to do that before I hit 50. Ugh, can't believe I'm even saying 50, but yeah. And so that was super challenging. But this year, Ashley, that chimed in a minute ago, she
Hmm.
developed our itinerary, took control, and kind of laid out our plans. And the rest of us kind of chimed in on a few things. And we took one little break this trip and did some kayaking on Lake McDonald, which was something different for us, but so beautiful. The lakes in Montana,
Hmm.
phenomenal. You can see all the way down to the bottom. They're
Wow.
just beautiful. The bald eagles around the lake. That was awesome. So that was fun to do. And we had a couple days of really big hikes. One of them, we were chatting about it a little bit
Uh-huh.
earlier, was a 13-mile hike to see a glacier,
Hmm.
and beautiful. We saw bighorn sheep, and we saw a moose and her calf along a creek. It was beautiful to see that. And the trees there were like in Yosemite, you have the huge pine trees, but here it was almost, you had so much undergrowth that you were
Hmm.
walking in as well, which was so different than what Yosemite was like. And so many wildflowers, lots of beautiful
Hmm.
wildflowers in bloom. It was just pretty. And some of them were so unique and so different. Um, we called one of them the Dr. Seuss flower. We called it the Whoville, and turns out it was like the park's most known flower. But that was awesome. Oh, Ashley's chiming in. Darn it, Ashley, you stole my thunder. We were coming in off that hike, and we had one-way tickets on a boat that was going to cut off 4 miles of the hike. And we get on this boat to start crossing. I think it was the first lake. We had two of them we had to cross, and a grizzly started swimming across the lake in front of us. And, oh my gosh, it was huge. It was so exciting to see this big grizzly. We'd seen a black bear our first day, but it was the first grizzly we'd seen. And you saw everybody packing bear spray around with them. But so this big grizzly starts swimming across the lake, and our boat's going along. And of course, we're all taking video and pictures. And he gets over to the far side of the lake, and he's huge, and he just starts running along the edge of the lake, and you can just see the water bouncing off of him. And it's even as far away as we were. But the scary part was he was coming in behind some people that had their back to him, and he was just racing along the lake, and there they were, and had no idea this giant grizzly's racing towards them, and people are screaming, but of course they can't hear. And right before he got to these folks, he dodged in to this little open area, and pretty soon you saw the people run away, and I guess he just headed on across the road and didn't bother him, so we didn't see him eat anybody. Everybody
Okay,
was
yeah, that's
safe.
good.
But
That's good.
it was a little tense there for
Yeah, I
for
bet.
a lot of people. But oh gosh, it was so exciting. We had another really close encounter with a black bear, and we'd be hiking along, and there would be a bighorn sheep, or you'd see a mountain goat right above you, and it was just amazing. And we had one really tough day that was a 16-mile hike. I blame Ashley Meyer for this day. It was a really tough hike. We'd gone about 9 miles, and then we hiked up to the other side of the glacier on this hike. And so we went straight up a mile and straight back down, which is just as hard as going up. Got back down to the bottom, and got to the chalet where I was hoping I could fill up my water, but no, we had 4 miles to go, and I was out of water. 7 miles to go. I don't even know. It's all such a haze. Got down to the end of this thing, and thankfully my friends insured their water because they're givers.
That was
And
nice of them, yes.
yeah. One of our friends might have shed a few tears, and one of them was pretty angry, and I don't know what was wrong with me, but my teeth were chattering, and I was shaking, and it got really hot that day, and we'd used a lot of energy, and I developed hiker's rash all over my leg, and it was all just amazing the next day when it was over.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
So,
it was great.
Ashley took the blame on some of that, but, you got to give her the credit too. I'm sure she arranged for the grizzly to go swimming across the lake and, all the different wildlife that you got to see. I mean, that was in her
Yeah.
itinerary. So thank you, Ashley.
Of course, of course. We had some good meals in camp, and we got to see lots of cool places we hadn't been, and went up to Pole Bridge Mercantile and had some good pastries. Montana and Glacier is all about huckleberries. So
Okay.
we ate some huckleberries on the trail, and got to try lots of huckleberry ales and pastries and all those things. It is really beautiful. I highly recommend it if you haven't been out there. Maybe you can buzz on up on when you go to Colorado, allow some extra time, and go on up to Montana one day.
I'd be a little
So
bit nervous taking my grandkids out there with the grizzlies around. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
well, okay. Fair enough. I'll give you that one. I
They
think
were.
we're planning Acadia next year, so we're going to head out to Maine and do that one. And my friend Misty, I think she's going to plan the itinerary on that one. So there's 4 of us that go. I got to give a shout out to my friend Tracy Peters too, because she's quite the adventurer herself with us. So
Yeah, that sounds very
yeah.
cool. That's pretty awesome. You guys get to do that. So we are looking forward to the next adventure next year around this time. So we'll make sure we do that again. Um, you do a lot of hunting of mushrooms, but you also grow those and other things. Tell us about
Mhm.
how much work is put into all of that and what's the reward.
Oh, absolutely. So we started growing shiitakes. It actually started as like an FFA project for my oldest son back in high school, and it kind of he was visiting with my dad, and they were trying to come up with a project, and it was either freshwater shrimp or shiitake mushrooms, and the mushrooms sounded a heck of a lot easier. So it's kind of just become our thing. So we plant every spring. We actually took off this year because we have quite a few logs out there already, and kind of time just got away from us. So it's kind of like we were talking before. Sometimes you got to just set some things aside. But we still have a lot of logs out there that if we get some more rain, they'll be producing pretty good for us this fall. But yeah, so my dad's usually the one that goes out and cuts the logs and gets them kind of curing for us for about a month. And we order our spawn
Hmm.
from a company. I think it's in Wisconsin. I'd have to look up my notes on that one. It's called Field and Forest, but they have all different types of mushroom spawn that you can buy, and actually there's different ways you can inoculate your logs. And so it's kind of a day process each year in the spring, and we've got a table and a system set up. Somebody's drilling the holes in the logs, and
Uh-huh.
then you roll the log down to the next two people and they inoculate it with the spawn, and then you roll down to the next guy at the end, and that person seals it with a food grade wax,
Hmm.
seals all the holes, and then we load them up in the tractor and we go set them out in the woods where they're in
Yeah.
some shade. And we have several different spots on our farm where the mushrooms are, and most of the time we give a lot away. We dehydrate them, we can them, we the stems are a little tough, so we usually pull those off and we ground
Hmm.
those up and use that powder like in soups and gravies, things like that. My mom can cook anything, and most of the time doesn't need a recipe, and it's the most amazing thing that she can do with spices and things like that. She's throwing mushrooms and all kinds of things, and
Yeah.
she does the canning with them as well. And we freeze them and just
Hmm.
we use them all year round. We love mushrooms, and we've tried several different varieties over the years and tried different types of logs to see how things grow and kind of experimented with
Hmm.
us. But oh goodness, I think we've probably been doing it for about 10 years, if not longer. So
Yeah.
just another little fun thing to do together. It's been fun.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that article and just I was, kind of amazed. Again, you have your whole family together, working on that, and I thought that was really cool that just the different process that you guys went through as far as the inoculation and the food grade wax and putting that type of stuff on there. I thought
Hmm.
that is awesome. That's amazing. And I always remember you a lot of times would share recipes that you guys use
Hmm.
for, making different things. And so that was just another idea I just had. You could even make a little cooking video and we can include that in on a,
All right.
QR code. We can do that. So
That
get your
sounds
mom involved,
awesome.
whatever. Yeah.
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
on it.
Okay. We'll just have to have that going and we'll work it in. I want to get on some other things here that you're talking about one thing that you're getting ready to do, but first we'll talk about fishing. What different kinds of fishing do you do, and what are some of those experiences and highlights?
Well, let's see. Well, first of all, since my husband's watching, I'm a better fisherman than he is. Just get that out there in the open. But, or maybe it's better to say I taught him everything he knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Even though his trout seems to always be bigger than mine, but I'd have to say probably trout fishing's my favorite thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a little spot that we love over in the Spring River, and it's nice when you buzz over to Arkansas because you can get one more trout than you can in Missouri. So that's always a bonus. We've got a lot of trout
Mm-hmm.
recipes that we do. My dad smokes it, and that's always
Mm.
tasty, especially with a cold beverage. We can the trout as well, and that tastes delicious. But yeah, I love to trout fish. It's fun. We have two ponds on our property, so we put some catfish in there a year before last. I think my dad threw those in, so he's let me catch a couple of the smaller ones, but I haven't caught any of the big ones yet. But we've got crappie and
Mm.
bass and bluegill, so that's I love. I don't think there's a fish I don't like to catch, quite frankly. My folks and my husband and I, we did a trip out to Michigan a couple years back and caught some huge salmon. So
Mm.
that led to trying different recipes with salmon. I'd really love to get to Idaho to do some um, big salmon fishing. I think that would
Mm.
be fun. But yeah, I love it. I love it all. Yeah, I can't wait till bass season opens.
Mm.
Bass and squirrel open at the same time. So you got a twofer when that happens. So that's pretty fun. I love having fish in the freezer and deer and turkey and all those things because it's just such a nice variety. But yeah, I love to fish, and that comes from my folks and my grandparents as well. And Jason always fished with his grandpa, and so yeah, it's something we really do enjoy doing together. Sometimes my husband and I'll just go out and throw a line in the pond and catch a few fish and catch and release. And it's relaxing. It's a way to just kind of relax and spend some time together. So,
Yeah, you may not have been aware of this, but your husband is going out fishing tomorrow with your dad.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was just a little laugh
Not,
out loud added in there.
not fair.
Well, we
I'm
went,
sure I'll get pictures and they'll be rubbing it in.
yeah, and he'll make sure that you see maybe a tape measure behind, see how big the trout are. I don't
Uh-huh.
know. Well, we got. I was sharing with you before before we started the program that we went to Colorado and got to spend time with our daughter, son-in-law, and grandkids, and it was cool. They took us up somewhere close to Telluride, and it was a ranch that the people that own the business that my son-in-law works for. So they had this ranch up there, and I mean, way up in the mountains. And you think that the mountains are always going to be, just like hills and stuff. That whole area up there was flat, and they had all these lakes in there, and the trout. There was lake trout, and I had never fished for lake
Mm-hmm.
trout before, so that was fun. And we were at the big lake, and we caught a couple of them over there, and they were actually pretty good size. But then my daughter said, well, the guy said that there's a nice little pond over here that has trout in it as well. I mean, the second you threw the line
Oh,
in there, they were like hitting it. And I mean, we caught trout after trout after trout. Everybody caught them. Felt bad for my one grandson. He was not able to catch. At one point, I was throwing out two different lines. I'd throw it out there, give it to him, he'd reel it in. I'd throw out another one, he'd reel it in, and oh, that wore me out. It was about 30 minutes of doing that, and it was like, are you kidding? They stopped biting.
oh no. And trout will do that. I mean, you'll be just catching them, and
Ah,
all of a sudden they'll just stop. And so
yeah,
you have to adjust, maybe throw out a little further than you did, or maybe
yeah.
cast, don't cast so far out, or switch your bait up, or move down the river a little bit. I mean, trout will do that on you.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I caught my talking about Colorado. I caught I think it's the only cutthroat I've ever caught,
Oh,
and
wow.
was in a high mountain lake out in Colorado. We've done quite a bit of fishing, Jason and I, and some other friends and my folks, near Salida, out
Okay.
out in that area, and we did a rough hike up to a high mountain lake that had cutthroat in it, and
Hmm.
I got one.
Uh-huh.
But I was the only one that got
There
one,
you
so
go. Throw that in there for Jason, right?
that's right. I don't think anybody cared by the time we made it up there, because
Oh, yeah.
everybody was pretty exhausted, but I was determined.
That's great. It was fun while we were up there. I had never seen a jackrabbit before. Saw a jackrabbit. The
Oh,
thing was
yeah.
huge.
Uh-huh.
And then what was really cool is I was able to do the 15-year wedding renewal vows for my son-in-law and my
Oh,
daughter. So that was special. That was pretty cool.
very special. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And just
We
the
just celebrated our friends just last weekend. We were up in Holt
uh,
Summit. Our friends, our travel buddies, the Labellas, just
uh-huh.
did a vow renewal for their 25th, and that's
Oh, cool.
awesome. I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
it was fun. All right, Laura, we talked about fishing. Now we got to talk about hunting. You do a lot of different hunting.
Hmm.
Tell us about that and some of your favorites.
All right. Well, deer season's coming up, so I have to mention that one. We're almost there. Bow season. I got my first deer with a crossbow last year, so I'm anxious to kind of spread out the season a little bit longer. My dad will be hunting with a bow. My husband will. So hopefully we'll get a few during bow season. So of course I'm looking forward to that. And we've been seeing lots of does out there. They seem to be moving, or at least they did last week when it was cooler. I'm sure this week they're hiding like the rest of us are because it's so hot. But we've been seeing lots of deer, and so I'm looking forward to deer season. And rabbit season will open up this winter, so I'm ready to get those rabbits that have been destroying our garden. I think their time's coming. So I'm looking forward to that. Probably my most favorite would have to be spring turkey season.
Mm,
There's fall turkey season, but they sure don't say a whole lot in the fall, and the spring's a lot more exciting.
mm-hmm.
And I got to give my husband all the credit on this one because we hunt together and he does all the calling. So if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be so great at turkey hunting. So I'll give him that one. And my dad's called a few in for me as well. But I love turkey hunting. I think it's the anticipation. The with deer, at least me, I'm sitting there waiting for him to walk by. And with turkey, it's work, it's hunting, it's not getting.
Hmm.
I think I mentioned that in an article before, but it's just exciting. And sometimes you're holding that gun up, the shotgun, waiting for the turkey to come in, and then it gets to where you don't think you can hold it up any longer, and where is it coming or is it not, and your heart's racing and you're trying to hold a gun steady and you're shaking so hard. And I just turkey hunting, it's just amazing. And I hate to see the numbers decline. We're not seeing near as many turkey in Missouri that we used to. I think a large part because of the predators. Not as many people are trapping, and so turkey hunting's my favorite. I'd say hunting wise, but I love it all. I'm not very
Yeah.
picky. I
Well,
like taking the time off. In fact, my boss just mentioned the other day, you're off a week in November. I was like, yeah, opening week of deer season. I'm taking the whole week this year so I can help process a little bit more.
yeah. Yeah, well, good. Well, I would tell you, we got a lot of rabbit out here this year, and there was for a long period of time. You were talking about predators and stuff like that. For the longest time, we saw no rabbit, but we've got a lot of rabbits out here now, and
Yeah, seem to be everywhere this year. I would
yeah,
agree with you, and more than I've seen in several years.
my
Yeah.
in-laws' cat. My in-laws live right next door to us up there, and their cat is like a fat, lazy Garfield, and he's just not doing his job. We've got rabbits, we've got squirrels galore. I mean, the squirrels
Hmm.
literally decimated our apple tree. There's like hardly any
Oh,
apples left. We got a single deer that comes up and eats off the apples. So, yeah, I think we got like 5 apples. That's about it.
oh no. Well, we fenced our garden in this year, and they started chew. It's a plastic fencing, and the rabbits have chewed through the plastic fencing so that they can squeeze in easier. I don't know. Maybe they're having to chew when they come back out. They're little when they go in, and then they eat all our tomatoes, and then they have to chew to get back out. I don't know,
Yeah,
but whew, they've really enjoyed themselves this year. So
yeah.
I'm going to enjoy them this year.
Yes, yes, that's right. You're allowing them to be fattened up a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Laura, thank you. This has been awesome, but I do want to ask you one final question here, and then I'll let you go. But how would you encourage anybody that would like to do some of these things that you've talked about, and how do they get started with doing this stuff?
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, it was family. If you don't have that, then I would suggest start talking to people. I mean, there's so many face groups out there. Conservation does so many programs, Missouri Department of Conservation. I share a lot of those on my personal Facebook page, but follow them on Facebook and look at some of the events they have. There's groups that you can join that conservation puts on for free to go look at wildflowers, or learn how to trout fish, or clinics on how to make maple syrup. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there, and a lot of them are free. So conservation would be my first step. And I wouldn't be surprised if you could get somebody there to connect you with other people that are like-minded. That I think people that hunt and fish and spend time outdoors want to share that enjoyment,
Hmm.
and knowledge with other people. So, find somebody to connect with. And if you have to do it by taking a trip to conservation or scrolling through their web page or their Facebook page,
Hmm.
I would suggest starting there. Talk to your friends. I mean, like I said, you can get mentors for hunting and fishing and
Hmm.
trapping. There's local groups like the Missouri Trappers Association. There's
Hmm.
the National Trappers Association. There's so many resources out there. If you do a quick Google search, even if that's what you have to do, you can find people to connect with, to learn about those different things. I know even just for, like, say, backpacking, if I know, and my girlfriends do the same thing, if we know we're going to hit a certain national park, we go join the Facebook page for that park
Hmm.
and find out what hikes everybody's doing, and be like, and that'll kind of help us figure out our itinerary. And you can do the
Hmm.
same thing with outdoors. You can find people. There's a mushroom group, so I know when the morels are hitting in Missouri. I know when it's time to go pick pawpaws, when people are finding them in different parts of the state. So it's out there. It just might take a little bit of looking.
Yeah. You forgot to mention that also if they need, a great guide or, somebody to plan an itinerary, they can call up Ashley, and Ashley will make sure that
That's
there's
right.
grizzly. She'll make sure that there's rams. She'll make sure that there's bald eagles. I mean, black bears. She can do it all. So make sure you holler out to Ashley. I'm sorry,
There you
Ashley.
go.
I had to do it because Laura brought it up. So I just had to make sure that we did all that. So, Laura, thank you so much for being on here tonight. We appreciate it. Okay, well, a minute. She said maybe for a small fee. And that is absolutely something that you would deserve. I would not even say small. I would say a big fee. If you're getting a grizzly
There you
bear out
go.
there, that's got some danger added to it. So,
Mm.
all right,
Oh,
Laura, thank you so much. I
good.
appreciate all your articles. Appreciate everything that you do as far as just kind of pouring in the love of outdoors and hunting and fishing and just the things that your family does and gives people inspiration to look at doing some of those things. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to just be able to talk and write about it. So
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
absolutely. I'll have you hold on here for just a moment. I'll go ahead and close out the program and we'll be right back. So thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. All right, everybody. We were talking with adventurer extraordinaire Laura Bax, and it's always a great pleasure to talk to her. And we're going to hear a whole bunch more in the days and years to come. Issues of Sports Soccer Magazine. Make sure that you are watching out for that. If you don't get it in the mail, you can find it at Hy-Vee, Downtown Book and Toy in California, at Cal's Thriftway, also in Fulton. Got CNR Market up there. I almost forgot about it there for just a moment. You know, too many things going on right here. And then the other thing is you can go on sportsoccermagazine.com and look at the digital magazine there. Lots of great articles. And again, we're going to try some different things. Laura's up for it, so we're going to have her get some video and we'll put that in on a QR code. Great program tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure that her husband knows that there's some things that she does better, and then he said that there's things that he does better. And right now, that's going to be on the internet for a very long time, so they can pull it up and remind each other. So that's the beauty of what we're doing here. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I got a good program for you next week too. But until then, God bless you. Thanks for joining us on One Nation, a Sports Soccer Magazine Extra. We'll see you next week.